who's been a special assistant for years. And now we're getting into the really good one-on-one drills with the wide receivers and the defensive backs. Now, Charles, I think you and I love that. I'm kind of split between this drill and the O-line versus D-line is my favorite part of practice.
Anytime there's competition that you talked about at the top, Mike, where it's one-on-one, and there's Aaron Dobson, the wide receiver from Marshall, I'm really looking forward to watching him this week.
He's interesting. And you're going to get a chance, again, one-on-one. And what are the pro scouts looking for, say, from a defensive back? If you're a corner and you're in off coverage, they want to see your footwork. They want to see your ability to change directions on with a wide receiver. Mirror that wide receiver. Keep your shade, an inside shade versus an outside shade. But more than anything, it's not about whether or not you get beat. It's about what your movement skills look like. And this drill exposes a lack of movement skills.
And here's a guy who can make a name, too. Mellett from Elon, the wide receiver. Look at that excellent coverage by Jamar Taylor, the cornerback from Boise State. Terrific. Sat right in on the hip. Broke right to the upfield arm where the ball was coming and broke up the play.
Yeah, I think the Millette kid is a big, strong, good-looking kid, but he's very raw. Saw some tape of him at Elon, and they do a lot of the short bubble screen.
And then he out-athleted people like crazy at that level.
Marquise Goodwin, number 1, is the wide receiver, and not only a very good receiver at Texas, but a world-class track athlete as well. Won the NCAA Outdoor Championship in the long jump 3 years in a row and actually placed 10th in the London Games this past summer.
Yeah, he's only 5'9", 179. He's got to add value in the kick game also.
27, Dwain Graz from UConn.
This guy here, Cyprien, I think he's interesting, as is Harper. Chris Harper from Kansas State.
Yeah, there you go. Good competition right there by Cyprien.
Former quarterback at Oregon.
Yeah, he was a quarterback there, transferred to get back home to the state of Kansas where he's from, and played receiver and did a nice job for Kansas State.
Here's a kid I want to see is Poyer.
Yeah, well.
There's a hold.
Wheaton.
They're two good players right there, two teammates from Oregon State. And I like them both. The Wheaton kid as a wide receiver is really quick, understands routes. And this Poyer kid, you know, at only 182 pounds, he was first-team All-American, 7 interceptions, 13 in his career. I like his movement skills.
What I'm going to say about him, Mike, and you can tell me as this process unfolds, tell me if I'm on track, he's a playmaking machine. Everybody talked about the honey badger.
Right.
You know, Tyrann Mathieu. Yep. Jordan Poyer is that same type of a player.
See, they're allowing them in press coverage now, and a lot of these kids are more comfortable in press. Now, Charles, there's my pet peeve, right?
Never located the football.
It's pretty good coverage, but all you got to do is turn your head.
And what happens, I think, at the end of these routes is the panic happens.
Yep.
At the moment of truth, all right, moment of truth now, you're reading the eyes and the hands of the receiver. You see that head come up, hands come up, turn your head and put your hands where his hands are.
In the NFL, that's lined up on the 2-yard line.
First and goal.
First and goal on the 2. You can't afford, you got to have confidence about yourself. And again, here comes some press conference. This Bleedy Ray Wilson from Connecticut just got beat off the line of scrimmage in an underthrown football. Who threw the ball? Nassib. That's an underthrown football. That should have been a touchdown right there. Bleedy Ray Wilson.
If you're going to be up there, you better get a piece of it. Right? If you're going to press him.
Yeah.
If you're going to press him, don't just stand there and let him go. Don't just let him get past you.
The worst thing you can do is open the door.
That's better there by Trufant.
Did a nice job.
Talk about bloodlines, right?
Two brothers in the NFL.
And this is what I like about these drills. No matter what the coaches want to preach, getting the football.
Yep.
Your takeaways. Even if the play's technically over, if the ball's on the ground, you go get it. To have that put into your DNA, into your processes.
Hey, folks, take a look. It's a wide.
Another bunch of UConn kids on this defense out here. Graz. See the quickness in the hands catch by Wheaton that time on a slant. Graz late on the break.
Markus Wheaton, Oregon State's all-time leader in receptions, had over 1,200 yards receiving this past season in the Pac-12. There's coaching going on. There's evaluation going on. 2013 Senior Bowl week is officially underway. Zach Dysert is here. The top seniors in the nation. You can watch it practice here for the Raiders right after this. The North team practicing for the very first time inside Ladd Peoples Stadium here today. The first day of Senior Bowl week 2013. That is Markus Wheaton, the wide receiver from Oregon State. 227 receptions there. #1 all-time.
and you hear about DeAnthony Thomas all the time and his speed. Markus Wheaton beat him last year in a spring track meet.
I'll tell you, so far, Trufant and Booker, who are kind of the quick-footed corners in this group, have really excelled in the man-to-man coverage.
And you know, Poyer's an athlete. In high school in Oregon, he was the state player of the year on offense and defense as a quarterback and a defensive back.
Shades of Allen Iverson. That's pretty impressive.
And he's at practice.
And he's practicing.
Jamar Taylor, one of only 2 returning starters for Boise State this past season. They lost 6 defensive players to the NFL last year.
Yeah, and that was a really average to poor corner play there. He never closed, and then he didn't hustle, which is atypical. These Boise kids, what do we say every year?
Extremely well coached, extremely competitive, always ready. They are pro ready when they hit the ground here. Yeah. It's almost like he didn't believe the play was on.
Yeah, and what has to happen is that it's got to click in that even if you get beat, even if you don't close, you got to go. You got to go get them.
Here's an interesting one for you, Mike. Phil Thomas, the safety, Fresno State.
Nice job with hands on early. Now run now for the ball. Now. So Harper has some speed.
Mike, he's a guy that has that little bit of build-up speed. And you're running with him. Yes, talk about Harper, Chris Harper. And you're running with him, and then all of a sudden you don't realize that he's going a little bit faster than what you thought. And with his big frame, then he goes up and gets the football.
I took some notes on him, and he's a former quarterback, a transfer from Oregon. He's got a weird body type because he's under 6'1", but he's 228. Look at him. He's thick. But, Charles, you said it right. On tape, he started running away from people, and I'm going, where'd that come from? Because he doesn't look sudden.
No.
He doesn't look twitchy, but he beats you.
Farther downfield he goes,
right.
Things get better for him.
Right. Now, here's Trufant, who I think has looked extremely well amongst the corners so far. Here's 2 really quick guys here. That's fun. That's I don't care that his hands got all over him. You know what? Those are 2 kids competing right there. That was a good rep right there.
And what you liked about it to me was that Wheaton didn't give when he got his hands on him. What I'm seeing out of a lot of college receivers, you get hands on them, they think it's a penalty, they give up on the play. Watch Wheaton. He's going to try and fight his way through.
And that's a hold. In the NFL, all
day long,
it's a tackle and it's a hold.
But you notice Wheaton didn't just give up on the play.
You're 100% right. It looks like this particular group of corners is more comfortable in press than they are in off.
Not a surprise. I'm seeing so much of that around the landscape. More guys comfortable that way. You get a lot of bail technique in the college game with the press bail, with the zones. And so their footwork is the thing that comes along later.
The horn indicates it's time for the players to take a break before moving on to the next drill. And we'll take a short break, too, and come on back. North team practice just getting started under the watch of Raiders head coach Dennis Allen.
And when you watch Jordan Poyer, anything short and intermediate, he seems to eat up. Look at him. Look at the transition skills. Reading the break, coming back for the football. Look at him stay there. Look at the concentration, locking in, staying on the inside part of the wide receiver. What you worry about with him is when they take him downfield. Can he go all the way down there and make plays on the football when it's in the air? Kevin Reddick can do that. And Quinton Patton's a guy that not many people have seen, but you've heard about him. The legend is there. 21 catches against Texas A&M. He's gone for huge yardage, big production at Louisiana Tech under Sonny Dykes and that type of an offense. What I liked about him and watching him over these 2 days is how he competes for the football. He uses his body well, runs physical routes, and goes and gets the football. Quinton Patton, a big-time player, I think, from Louisiana Tech. He's caught my eye this week in a big way.
Big-time production this past season. He had 7 separate 100-yard games.
Well, how about Desmond Trufant, the corner from the University of Washington? We loved him on Monday. I like him even more on Tuesday. He has exactly what you want in a corner. The foot skills, the ability to cover, competes for the football, but more than anything, the cornerback's arrogance that no matter who he's going against, they are not going to catch the football. Press man, off man, doesn't matter what it is, he's going to go and compete. He'll even interfere to make sure you don't catch the football. He won't give you that satisfaction. I think he's had a terrific first 2 days here at the Senior Bowl.
5'11", 190, 47 starts in college. You know what you're getting, a quick-footed corner. I think what the one thing we don't have at this particular Senior Bowl is that tall, lanky corner. Seattle's got those guys on the edges. More and more teams are looking for them. But the kid from Oregon State, your guy Trufant, quick-footed, good corners.
For me, 3 guys I want to focus in on today. Aaron Dobson, wide receiver from Marshall. In talking with people here, the guys who make the decisions, GMs, personnel directors, scouts, they want to see him take a step up. They know the talent is there. They want to see him break out starting today and be Aaron Dobson and be the receiver they think that he.
And the corner crop, I've been coming here for 10 years. This is one of the better groups of corners we've seen. This is a great year to need a corner in that second or third round. You have a lot of options.
Hey, Daniel, a couple of names at corner there. Who's at the top of the list of that group who's performing well collectively?
I think Desmond Trufant's probably helped himself more than anybody. He's had a fantastic week. He's got everything size. He's physical. We'll see him get going here against Markus Wheaton. Oh, it looks like he's going to pull out of there. Markus Wheaton is somebody else to keep an eye on. The wide receivers had a great week too, Paul.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much. Charles, go ahead.
Daniel, I have a quick question for you. You mentioned that this is the best crop of DBs you felt like you've seen in the last 10 years. My sense is that the trend is so offensive-centric in college football that you can find receivers all the time, and it's tougher to find cover guys. Is that trend going to be broken a little bit this year in your estimation?
Well, it does cycle through. It seems like we've had a lot more receivers. Look, I've been in draft rooms, and you look up at the receiver board, we're constantly having to pare it down. There's so many names, and we're constantly trying to create corners. This is an exceptional year for corners, and it hasn't been the case recently.
We just watched Desmond Trufant break up a pass very, very well. Impressive play. Daniel, how much does it help him? How much of a discussion inside of draft rooms is it that he has a couple of brothers playing in the NFL at that position?
It helps. It helps. You know, we always have a good conversation about that. It helps some players. Inevitably, if somebody has a low grade, though, the name Ozzie Canseco gets invoked.
That's good.
Now, Paul, you mentioned Trufant had another good rep, and I talked to some people on the field before practice about Trufant. Number one, they were happy with the way he looked at the weigh-in. 5'11", 5'11 and an eighth, 190 pounds, bigger than they thought. The concern is long speed with him. We know how quick his feet are, and he's squatting on a lot of routes and breaking up a lot of intermediate passes. And I think what the scouts want to see is if he can run deep. And what they really want to see, and I was talking to a bunch of them this morning, what's he going to run at the combine? Is he a 4.48, 4.50 guy, or is he a 4.4 flat guy? What's the long speed for Desmond Trufant? And here we go with Desmond.
And Denard Robinson back.
Denard, my bad.
Practicing, and he's had kind of a slow start to his week. I mean, the transition from quarterback to wide receiver, a position he hasn't played. He had the elbow injury. He's been limited. He's been almost half to three-quarters speed the first couple days.
Yeah, but he's got the white shirt on today, full speed for the first time, so people want to see something. And this is what I want to see, is some of these wideouts challenging D-backs deep. Because, again, I think a lot of these D-backs are squatting on routes and trying to make plays.
Marquise Goodwin, 50 career games at Texas. Charles, go ahead.
Going back to Denard Robinson, had a chance to chat with him on the field, and he does the typical tough guy. How you feeling? Great. How's the arm? Great. Oh, almost had a connection there. I said, Denard, tell me what's going on. 2 fingers on his hand, numb still. He says it's coming back, though, from the nerve regeneration. And really, he says, from the elbow all the way through, he has some numbness. So he's trying to fight through and play through some stuff today. They're giving him a full go, but he's not 100%. I give him big check mark for being out here each and every day and battling through.
I like that throw and to Wheaton, who beat the DB by about 3 yards. Got to catch the football, though. Trufant challenging on the slant.
Good hands catch by Dobson.
He's caught your eye the first couple of days, hasn't he, Charles?
He has. He looks the part. I love the length of him. And what I like there is that he battled his way through the route, because Trufant's going to challenge you. We've seen that, haven't we, guys? He's going to challenge you and make you earn it each step of the way. Good rep there by Dobson, I thought.
Will Davis, little double move by Lemon from Syracuse.
Ball well placed there by Zach Dysert. Dropping that one in there.
Yep. He's up next, a big wide receiver here. He's an interesting build. Chris Harper from Kansas State.
I want to see him take a step up today, Mike.
Off man coverage.
You saw him play a couple times in person this year, Charles. When you watched him, did he stand out as a guy that said NFL receiver? Did he have that written on him?
He was a guy who got better for me over the last couple of seasons, and one of the attributes that he brings to the table is the former quarterback position. We actually played it in college, and he helped out big time with what he called quarterback eyes, running pass patterns, reading coverages, helping them diagnose where the weaknesses were in the defense, and helping their overall passing game. And I thought he got better in his years there at Kansas State.
Denard Robinson ran a little dig route there, got open, created some separation. Here's the small school kid from Elon.
Yeah, have you had a chance to chat with him at all, Mike?
I have not.
I talked with him in pregame, and I asked him how it's going. You know, you always have that natural, do I belong, even though you say that you know you belong. And he said the second day he felt a lot more comfortable. But he said part of it has been shaking off the rust. He hasn't played in almost 2 months. Other guys had bowl games, deep into the playoffs in the FCS. He didn't have that. And he said just trying to shake off the rust and get back into football gear has been a little bit tough for him. Plus, hadn't run a whole lot of routes at Elon. You know, they did everything just
underneath.
Just make sure, get him the football and turn him loose. He's talking about routes you run at 12, now you're running at 15. All the things that they have to continue to convert and get better on, is part of the jump.
The Boise kid, Taylor, tried to jump the route. That's an interference at the NFL level, even though it's great coverage. On the double move, he contacted him because he was beat. You have to secure the route first, and if you contact the player, it's interference at the next level.
Such a change, isn't it, Mike? Because on the college level, that's terrific coverage because you're able to get the contact before the ball's in the air.
Guys, here's a good one right here. Wheaton, who I like as a wide receiver, and Trufant, who we've been talking about all week. Off-man coverage.
Excellent job.
That's a good route right there.
Good route. Ball wasn't delivered where it needed to be.
Come on now. That's a bad ball, dog. I ate you up. Come on, dog. You ain't did nothing.
He's got to come back towards the quarter with the ball's thrown behind him.
Yeah.
Clearly won, though.
You see that recovery, though? He was beat for a half a second. That was nice.
He's got great feet, Trufant.
That's a great matchup. I would dare say that was the matchup of the receivers created the most buzz so far this week on the north, and the corner who's created the most buzz on the north.
TJ McDonald, the safety, playing a little corner here.
Long-legged, 6'3" safety, did pretty good. Now he's not going to come out of breaks as quickly as a Trufant just because of his size, his length. However, he can kind of cover you up in press and envelop you. He's been beating up all the tight ends pretty good this week.
Does he look like a first-round safety to you at this point?
You know, I got to do some more tape work on him because there's been some inconsistencies there. I think he looks it on the hoof. I'm not sure if the production at USC warrants it.
Aaron Millett out of Elon coming back and catching that one nicely.
I think what jumps it up for the safeties now is that, and we've talked about the last couple of years, haven't we, guys? The tight ends and the increased role in the NFL. And everyone's looking for those safeties who can cover and do everything now. Looking for what we saw Harrison Smith provide last year for the Minnesota Vikings coming out.
Do you think Denard Robinson at the next level is only a receiver? I mean, with the success of different packages that some teams are using, do you think he might play a little NFL, considering how well he played it at Michigan?
I think the value to this kid is how many touches you think you can realistically generate in a game. That's good coverage right there until the very end.
Catch.
Coverage at the line of scrimmage was outstanding by Philip Thomas from Fresno, and then the catch at the end. But Paul finished the point about Robinson is I think he's a natural slot receiver once he learns. He's quicker than fast. I think he can create separation. I love his toughness. What do you have, over 700 touches in college? I mean, I love his toughness. That's not a question. You can line him up at tailback. He's going to play in the return game. So the more touches you think you can create for him, the higher it pushes his value. Yeah, when he learns to catch the football in the return game and become a real return guy, that's huge for him. The problem is we need to figure out his hands. We don't know if he has natural hands or not. That's the one thing where I go, okay, you can teach routes, but the hands thing, what do we have here? You got to get that injury healed. Exactly.
Markus Wheaton, pretty good hands, 227 receptions, all-time leader at Oregon State. Still Alabama. One of the stars out of Washington, cornerback Desmond Trufant. A little bit earlier, he spent time with Rebecca Harlow.
Paul, Desmond's been one of the most consistent guys out here this week. What is it about your skill set that's allowed you to be consistent at this level?
I'm just using my technique, using what my coaches taught me, being patient in my press and off coverage, and it's allowed me to make some plays out here.
Are you the most competitive guy out here?
I would say so. I would feel that's one of my biggest traits, just competitive. I'm always going to compete, and I love winning. I hate losing.
You've got 2 brothers in the NFL ranks. How much has that shaped where you are today?
It shaped me a lot. You know, they set the path for me. I got to watch a lot of NFL football growing up, and I think it's showing, you know, just how I'm able to read things and read routes and react to certain things. So it's definitely helped.
And you've specifically asked for players to go up against certain guys out here, which has gotten attention too.
Yeah, it's definitely. Markus Wheaton, he's definitely one of the best receivers out here, and you got to beat the best in order to be the best. So I'm just having fun with it.
Have fun out there. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Well.
Rebecca, he has had a terrific week, and we talked about him prior to practice here today, and he's shown up. He's had a couple of plays already we've talked about.
Did he go a little Ric Flair there on us? To be the best, you got to beat the best. I like him. I like that kid. Often.
Comes Terrance Williams, a potential first-round wideout from Baylor with a double move, and that's an interference on the Cal kid, Anthony. And way to finish it, Terrance Williams, who had a couple double catches yesterday. I think he needs to have a big day today. You know, the comparisons are coming because Baylor had a first-round pick last year in Kendall Wright. Is he that kind of kid? Completely different kind of body athlete. The Kendall Wright kid was squatter, more explosive, quicker. This kid's a long, lean kid. Huge production last year, but this year especially, he stepped it up with 97 catches for almost 2,000 yards. And Paul, there was not a whole lot of drop-off when RG3 wasn't there, let me tell you.
Yeah, with Nick Florence, and probably the best receiver that came out of Baylor ended up going to supplemental draft.
Right. Yep.
Was Josh Gordon, who went to the Cleveland Browns.
And there's the kid we liked yesterday, Patton. And I thought he had a big day yesterday. And by the way, this William and Mary corner that's up next, he's opened some eyes. Division I AA out of the, oops, I'm sorry, it's a safety up first.
Yeah, that's Bakari Rambo from
Yep.
Georgia.
Yep. But this corner, Webb,
BW.
he's an interesting kid, 5'10", 183 pounds. He competed yesterday. Remember, Division I AA, Colonial Athletic Association, double move, you can smell that one. Now get your head around. See, ball was thrown out of bounds, right, Charles?
Totally pinned him to the sideline, so when the fade happens with the pass coming down, fades him all the way over the sideline, no chance to catch the football. It's excellent coverage.
You want to be approximately 6 to 7 yards inside the sideline to give your quarterback an angle to throw that fade. And again, here's a comeback. Tavares King.
Oh, that ball hit Charles.
Catch the ball, Charles Davis.
I've been waiting for that for 7 years to happen.
You notice, you quickly observed why it was a DB.
I didn't say hoping for it to happen. I was just waiting for it to happen.
CD, that was awful.
You guys quickly observed why I was a DB, not a receiver.
And there's the kid I liked yesterday an awful lot, McDonald, the tight end from Rice. You know, you start thinking about Tyler Eifert from Notre Dame, Zach Ertz from Stanford, a couple of really talented underclassmen. This is the best senior tight end I've seen.
Who threw that ball anyway?
That was E6 on the scoreboard.
Back shoulder, bad timing, no connection there between the quarterback and the receiver. Good coverage, and by the way, the kid on coverage there is another interesting guy. The Georgia Southern kid, J.J. Wilcox.
J.J. Wilcox.
He's a big, tough safety. I only saw one tape on him, but I came away going, I need to do more work on him.
One-year player at safety, Mike.
Yeah.
Former wide receiver, slot back, running back. And if you want to watch how he plays, besides the safety, plug in his kick returns. Nice. He runs kick returns back like everything is going to the house without wiggle. You know what I mean? Without trying to dance around. Determined. It's good coverage there. Sean Williams.
Yeah,
Sanders Cummings, I believe.
No, Sean Williams.
Sean Williams.
Cummings is out today.
The entire Bulldog backfield is here, aren't they?
Except for Brandon Smith, who we saw last week.
That's right, we did.
East-West.
Okay, here comes the Tribe again. Division I AA against Division I. I love this matchup. Press man. Let me see this 1AA kid compete right here. Get your hands on him. Get back inside. He's holding him. He's holding him. Ball. That kid will compete.
Yep.
Steve Sagnolo in the background there.
Okay, this is what people want to see coming up. You see Webb there. Is Bakari Rambo.
Safety.
They want to see the coverage.
He's on Connor Vernon, who's one of the craftier receivers in this draft. I love his double moves this year.
Works the middle very well, doesn't he, Mike? You watch Connor Vernon run inside routes.
Yep.
ACC's all-time leader in receptions and yards.
I watched his Memphis game. He ran a couple sluggos and the slant and go double moves. Guys are trying to jump the route, and then he just consistent. Yeah, he catches. He's a crafty little bugger.
Here's Wilcox. All right.
A lot of contact.
A lot of contact, which is normal. They're so used to doing that in a college game. 5 yards. 5 yards.
About 3 different times. It might be 15.
We're just going to keep adding it up, right?
Yeah.
5 yards.
Lester, double move. Patton.
Let's see if Patton can get it.
Lester, Charles, there it is again. A defensive back with great coverage can't find the football. There's an art to knowing when you've got the route secured and you can get your eyeballs back.
And you know, Jim Moore, our former colleague here at NFL Network, now the head coach at UCLA, always talks about moment of truth. When the ball's going to arrive, who's going to transition and play the football. Moment of truth time.
Robert Alford's looked pretty good, too, from southeastern Louisiana. It's a couple good days.
Buzz, Mike. I've heard it in four or five different locations about Robert Alford.
These safeties are jumping all over people. A lot of contact. I don't blame them.
Time to take it upfield.
And then finish with a catch. Blue 19.
Here comes Webb, who I think's had a really good week. Raymond Mary reads the fade.
Everybody is saying that. What has he done this week to impress everyone?
When you come from Division I AA, even the CAA, which is the premier conference in Division I AA, you still have to prove that the level of competition, you're able to equal it. And I think he stepped on this field day one on Monday with a little bit of an attitude and a chip on his shoulder. I'm as good as anybody out here. And I think so I think the attitude was great. And I think the quick feet and the aggressiveness has been what people have been impressed with. That's what I've heard a bunch this week. Really good feet and aggressive as can be.
What I got this morning is they're not sure, the coach I talked to said, I'm not sure about any of the corners' long speed, Mike. They're worried a little bit about that.
Yep.
But they think that this kid might be the closest to it in terms of BJ Webb having the complete package.
Yep.
We had Gus Bradley up here earlier in the week, the new head coach of the Jaguars, the former defensive coordinator with the Seahawks, and we all know big corners helped them so much this season. Who out here qualifies as a quote big corner, if any?
Well, they don't have the length out here that you're talking about, Paul. Sanders Cummings from Georgia is a 6 foot, 223-pound kid. Now, you don't see many corners at 223 if they're not 6'3", so he's got a little bit of a different body type than most of the corners. Now, I think the one with the most length is Bleedy Ray Wilson, from UConn. I think he's an interesting kid. He doesn't have quite the same hip and foot skills as the smaller guys, but the reason people like him is he's 6'1", 192, and he's got 32.5-inch arms. So in this game, Paul, they're the two guys that stand out a little bit as far as having some length, size, and physicality.
And that length is used to help eradicate what you may not have in quickness, because now trying to still fit the ball in with those arms coming in, even if they're not totally on the coverage, makes it tougher. So that.
Back inside Ladd-Peebles Stadium, 2 days until game day on our path to prime time. Quarterbacks, wide receivers, defensive backs. Red zone drills. Kobe Hamilton out of Arkansas, all-time leader in catches, Razorback history. Hung on to one there.
That was a hard throw, but if you close that whip, you got to get
his
that
quarterback Tyler Wilson also
and then you can play the ball
on the South squad.
Working on a tight end right there. Michael Rivera from Charles Davis's alma mater.
And he's a move tight end, right, Mike?
No doubt. 237 pounds. Gets in and out of his breaks quickly. Not an inline tight end. He'll get swallowed up by those big bodies inside. Uh-oh.
Oh, that's pretty.
Tavares King. And now remember, that's Tavares King on a safety. That's a little bit of a mismatch for Lester from Alabama to have to cover a quick wide out like that.
Come on, Tavares King. Pick on somebody you're supposed to.
Here we go. Here's our little Wayman Mary kid.
Quinton Patton had a real nice week here.
Excellent week.
Guys, if he's not a big-time guy, Quinton Patton this year. Wow.
Yeah, check any one of his 21 catches against A&M. 21, that's a season for some guys, Paul.
4 for touchdowns, 233 yards in a game.
It's a silly number. Look at these guys still competing.
You know, somewhere within the first few catches, they got an idea that they should try and cover him, and he still had 21.
This is a different technique for a lot of these corners, being 3 yards off. They're used to being 7 or 8 yards off or pressing closely. This is a red zone technique in the NFL where they're trying to make the quarterbacks and wide receivers guess. Are they in man? Are they in zone? Are they going to jump the short stuff? I mean, this is an awkward place for the offense, but it's a technique the defense has to learn. A lot of guys in college don't play this.
We used to call it catch.
Catch?
Mike, we used to call it catch, C-A-T-C-H. You'd show press, you'd back off, and they think that you're backed off totally, and you'd stop halfway in between then you catch him as he starts his route. That was the idea.
There's a really good catch by Rivera. Pretty good coverage by our guy, the Georgia Southern defensive back, J.J. Wilcox, who's kind of a late riser during the season.
I remember Jimmy Graham, the tight end, doing some drills like this and pressing out wide 2-3 years ago.
I remember Jimmy was raw, coming straight from basketball. One season of college football.
Gotta flatten him down. All right? Got to be aggressive with this,
Your guy BJ Webb, is he every team's kind of corner? Is he specific to a certain kind of scheme?
I think when you start talking, he's 5'10", 183. You start talking about with his quick, and there's another little setup move by King on. He's stealing from Leicester.
From Leicester.
But
they got to change that up.
Paul, I think all 32 teams are looking for nickel defenders. You got to have somebody quick enough to play in the slot where everything's a two-way go. And those smaller, quicker-footed guys are the ones that end up inside. You're looking for a little more length and pure speed outside. It's going to be interesting with all these corners as we see them at the combine to see what their long speed is. Because, Charles, you and I talked all week. They're jumping the short and intermediate stuff, but I thought they got exposed deep. And I don't know whether it was because they're trying to jump stuff or they can't run. There's a hold right there. Alford competed all week long.
I want to go back to that point you just made about a nickel corner, Mike. Everyone thinks you can just take any corner and put him any spot, and it's going to be the same thing. It's a different feel inside about where your eyes go, what you're feeling in space. If you don't get the clue, go back to the Eagles 2 years ago. Right? With Rogers Cromartie, Asante Samuel, and Nnamdi Asamoah, and all three of them are looking at each other like, I'm not going in there. Why am I going into the nickel?
One of them was going, I'm a left corner and I play off. The other one went, I'm left, but I'm a press guy. The other one said, sorry, I'm an off zone guy, and nobody wanted to go inside.
And the defensive backs coach was like, oh, God, what am I?
Nice catch, Terrance Williams out of Baylor. And you think about it, I mean, teams are in nickel packages over half the time now.
It's like being a starter. If you're the nickel guy on a defense, you're a starter as far as I'm concerned. Today's spread offense, spread it out, throw the football world.
Here we go again, King and Leicester.
Now, the cardinal rule here is don't let them inside. So Kings beat them twice inside. That time took them outside. A little better job. Paul, you knew it was a quarterback, right? If you were running slant on the goal line, what did you want from your wideout?
Wanted this quick outside move and just get right back in.
You want him to win inside.
He's got to get across his face.
Exactly.
Or else it's not there.
Exactly. So that's the battle right there. Who can win inside like that? And then if you can stop the inside route, you got a shot at running underneath the outside route.
That's good coverage by Webb there against the big body tight end, Rivera.
Daniel Jeremiah, our former NFL scout on the field, watching this same drill. What have you seen from the defensive backs this week?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been really impressed with Alford right here, down here in southeastern Louisiana. This is why the Senior Bowl is so great, guys. You can watch a guy from southeastern Louisiana go up against a big guy from LSU, who you had to hear about all year long, and cover him like a blanket like he's done down here all week long. So he's really helped himself. And to talk about the nickel thing, about 5 or 6 years ago in the draft room, we started putting a column up for nickel corners. We considered him a starter on the draft board.
There's no doubt about that, Daniel. And that's one of the things that's going to change for these, quote, nickel corners is which ones are quick enough to play inside, which ones are fast enough to play outside. And there's a difference, folks, between quickness and fast. Some guys have both. Some guys don't. And if you got to line up with Wes Welker, you better be quick. You don't have to be as fast, but you better be quick if you're lining up with Wes Welker and Devone Best and all those guys. There's my guy again.
Hey, Daniel.
Safety.
Daniel. Yeah. We just saw the safety from Georgia Southern, J.J. Wilcox, that I think we've all been extremely impressed with. I talked to his coach, Jeff Monken, who's done a terrific job getting Georgia Southern back on the scene, and they switched him this year and called him in and said, we want to switch you to safety. When you go in and scout and you talk to the coaches, how heavily do things like that weigh in about kids' attitudes when they ask them to switch positions late in their career, 1 year thing, all of those things? What do you guys talk to coaches about, and what do you glean from it?
We want to talk to them about their attitude, first of all, like you said, but we also want to just talk to them about the progress, because we didn't get a chance to see him when he first made that move. So what kind of progress has he made from beginning to end of the season? And that's a guy that makes a position switch like that, Charles. You're going to have to watch tape throughout the entire year to monitor how quickly he's picking things up, and you've seen him pick it up pretty quickly.
And finally, small schools. I love these kids. From Georgia Southern, J.J. Wilcox, 215-pound safety with corner feet. I think he's an immediate starter in the NFL. He can help you on special teams. this is a guy that I've really enjoyed watching, and I think it's a great safety class. In addition to Wilcox, I'll look at Jonathan Cyprien from FIU. I think Jonathan Cyprien made money this week. I also think Philip Thomas from Fresno made money this week. So I've been highly impressed, Paul, with the safety class. And we haven't talked much about it because we don't get to see a lot of their individual drills. We get so into the corners and the wideouts. Really good safety class.
Charles, who caught your eye?
Well, there are three guys for me that did it. And when you talk about these guys now, we talk about Desmond Trufant is the first one, and Mike's talking about the safety class. We always talk about corners, too. Desmond Trufant, I think, has had a terrific week because he will challenge each and every receiver, wants to challenge them. When he gets out in front, he doesn't really care. If he has to play off coverage, he doesn't want backpedal too much. You notice, flat-footed read, reading the play, breaks on Chris Harper. Watch this, in press, and watch him in the trail technique. Stays on the inside, breaks to the outside, no chance to put the football in there. Now he's going against one of the better players we've seen this week at wide receiver, Markus Wheaton. Too much hands from Desmond Trufant. That's college style. That'll have to be coached out of him. But again, competes.
Next guy that impressed me was Quinton Patton, the wide receiver from Louisiana Tech, incredibly productive. We knew the stats coming in here, but we've seen him absolutely show the entire toolbox. He's been open underneath. He's been more physical at the line of scrimmage against some of these press corners, and we've seen him stretch the field, track the ball, and make big plays down the field. The entire week, you want a guy to be consistent. He's done that. Another consistent receiver, Markus Wheaton from Oregon State. We talked about it a little bit earlier. The battles he's had with Trufant from Washington have been some of the more entertaining things to watch this week. But he's been incredibly quick. Maybe the most sudden receiver at the Senior Bowl. He's helped his cause this week as well.
That's a double-digit number of guys who caught your eyes to make money this week.